senior yoga, which is going to be fun. It's going to be good stuff, and you don't need to be senior. You don't need to be old to join in a bit of senior yoga. What I do is, I trained in Whistler in Canada, my 200 hours yoga training about 4 years ago, something like that. And then I've done a lot of courses on mobility and different things in around strength and fitness in the gym. Well, the big one is I'm trained in functional range conditioning, and everything that I do for yoga and for all of my training, all the strength stuff, all of the hand balancing and calisthenics and things like that, all go through this lens of functional range conditioning. And what that means is we do a lot of controlled articular rotations. So we look at how your joints function as a joint, and I try and help you out to be able to make those joints be able to articulate really well, really specifically. So if you look at a shoulder, then I want you to be able to have this shoulder back in this corner, and it can pull back and around and know all of these end ranges, and you can tell wherever this shoulder goes, you're in control of it, and there's no just habitual movement where you do a little compensation, so this arm maybe doesn't like going up here, so your lower back does it every time. We train you to get stronger at being able to lift this stuff up a little bit higher, a little bit stronger, and a little bit more control. It's all about the control. And we also do some pails and rails, which is progressive angle isometric loading and regressive angle isometric loading, which means, as you'll see when we get into this, we get strong in our end ranges in every direction. So you get to learn how to use your joints perfectly. And it makes you more resilient to the world. And because this is senior yoga, it just means that I don't put you in any positions that are going to give anyone with bad hips or bad shoulders or anything going on any bother. That doesn't mean that it's easy. It doesn't mean that we just scale it right back to being easy. It means make it a little bit stronger almost. But it's your strength, not mine. So what you do might be very different to what I do, but I'll show you, I'll guide you through this to be able to get the best out of your mobility training that we can possibly get. And it's great being a part of this 3D Leisure at Home. It means that we get to see a lot of different people. We get to train you in all of the specifics of all the great instructors that we've got. We've all got our skills and our focuses, and it's fun. It's fun working out what we can do across the magic of the internet. It's great. Okay, I'm going to take my glasses off because they just fall off my face if I move around too much anyway. Just sit on the end of your sofa. If you're not near a chair, if you don't have anything to on, then cross-legged on the floor works for me. But it's got to be somewhere where you can fidget and move and work out how your breathing apparatus is doing, how it's working, how you are getting oxygen in and balancing out your carbon dioxide levels. It's important. How we breathe is how we move, and it feeds our exercise and makes us better at stuff. So, just move your fingers around a little bit, with your hands on your knees, whether you're in cross-legged or sat on the end of your sofa. Let your eyes close. Soften your shoulders down. You can still fidget a little bit, but eventually I want you to settle into being kind of still. You push your belly out as you breathe in. Draw your belly in as you breathe out. Keep relaxing your jaw. Keep sitting up tall. It doesn't need to be the deepest breaths. I just want you to be able to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. And then start maybe doing this little side bend where you squeeze your ribcage down towards your hips, ribcage down towards your hips. Your breathing apparatus, the stuff that you breathe with, also helps with movement. These muscles around here, it can help your ribs expand, help your lungs get air in, but they also feed this movement. And you're quite good, no matter what, you're quite good at doing spinal movement and breathing at the same time. So that's how we move as humans. So keep just squeezing into end range, squeeze into end range, and breathe at a different beat to the beat of your movement. So that means you hit every shape that your breathing apparatus is doing and every shape that this side bend is doing. And just to demonstrate how that changes things, you squeeze your ribcage down towards your hips, soften your shoulders down, Breathe in, breathe out. You feel like these muscles here are contracting and these muscles here are lengthening. Say it. And come over to the other side. Squeeze the ribcage down here, lengthen here. Breathe in, breathe out. Keep relaxing your jaw, soften your shoulders down, and work this out. Work how it feels different while your muscles around here are performing at holding you in this shape. They're also performing at helping you breathe. Perfect. Then come back to just moving again. Then, hopefully, most of you will have done a bit of cat-cow before, where you go on all fours and you make your spine move. Let's just start this off with a little bit of cat-cow while you're set up. So if you bring your hands forward, you can either have them floaty or on your knees. I want you to spread your shoulder blades. So you make your shoulder blades come apart, and you pull your sternum back and curl your spine around. And then bring your belly button forwards and bring your rib cage up and squeeze shoulder blades together. And shoulder blades spread, sternum comes back, belly comes back, belly button back. You're moving very specifically, one vertebra at a time, in this seated cat-cow. And it's hard. It should be really tough to tune into this. I teach this kind of stuff every day, so I've got quite good at it. I can control my spine, but what might happen for you is it might just go either it's back or it's forwards, or you don't get it at all, and that'll be like this, where you go forwards and back and your head starts moving like this. That isn't it. Your head stays kind of still. You find all these different shapes that your spine can do. And then if we have a little look at this on all fours, so we come down onto all fours. If your wrists don't like being on the floor on all fours, then either you can put your forearms on the sofa out in front of you like this, or I've got this big beanbag thing here. This would work for me as well. Be able to do cat-cow like this, and my wrists aren't being like snapped off as I bend my wrists loads here. So push your fingertips down and push yourself up into cat pose like this. You're making big turtle back. I want you to hold it up here for a few seconds and just breathe while you try and shorten all of this stuff here. So this stuff gets shorter and everything down your back gets longer. You hold and breathe. Maybe try pushing the floor away from your knees as you bring the middle of your back up. Then tilt your lower back, coccyx, lumbar spine, and coming down, coming down, coming down. And then we squeeze shoulder blades together, and then you look up and hold this here. We're going to hold this position for a little while. I want you to try and pull the floor towards your knees. You're trying to scrunch up lower back, middle of your back, and even your neck as well. Trying to shrug your shoulders up, try and pull your shoulders down away from ears. Breathe. And tuck your chin, push your chest up, go rib cage up, belly up and back down, and see how I'm making one vertebra at a time move. And that's kind of important. I can separate out all of these vertebrae so that my spine can share the load of life between every single vertebra and not just go through the lens of whichever ones are easiest to move. I'm building my repertoire of different shapes that this spine can do. What's important is realizing that the way that gravity points changes things. So when you're stood up, it changes things for this. When you're lying on your back, it changes things for this. You can keep working out how to get better at this. And then, just as a little test, you do some empty ones of those where you just flop down and flop up, flop down and flop up, and realize that that isn't it. When you just kind of flop around like this, there's no learning. I want you to get better at this and be able to find more space to move into and how to control it. So that means moving slow, feeling each little bit. So that if this spinal movement was your handwriting, it'd be really neat cursive. I don't want your handwriting to look like you've got hold of a crayon in your fist and you're doing scribbles like this. I want this stuff to work like you're in control of every little tweak and every little flourish of whichever way that you go, you can do all of the stuff. Then, if we come and stand up, let's have a little think about our hips and how our hips relate to our lower back. Because it's important, these are a team. So where your femurs come into your hip sockets and where your pelvis attaches to your lower back by the sacrum, this works together. So if you take a step, your lower back and your hips are working together. They're both doing jobs. They're both doing movement. But if one of those teams is weak or doesn't do its job very well, the other part of it will pick up the slack. So if your hips don't work very well, when you take a step, your lower back will do more. I want to see if we can get these hips to be the best hips that they could possibly be. To do that, I want you to put your hand on your lower back, hand on your belly, and just see if you can make a little bit of tension here. Still be able to breathe, but you can hold this stuff on and do a little bit of balance. You can use furniture to cheat, so you can even like lean your leg up against the sofa. Whatever you need to do, pick this knee up as high as you can and feel like this stuff here stretches, and then as we pull it back, this stuff here contracts. That's important, that it goes from stretch to contract, and the opposite is happening here. This stuff stretched here, contracts here, and the opposite's happening here. And these two things work against each other. And your lower back doesn't shift when you do this, even if you push into the corners. So I'll try and pull this knee back. I'm in control of this hip and in control of my lower back. I can keep my pelvis still if I want it to be. Then pick this up again. This time we're going to do a big circle. So point your knee out to the side and show the sole of your foot to the front of the room. So that's external rotation of the thigh. Then swing this heel back, drag it back until you feel this bum muscle tense. Then knee to knee, knee up. Show the sole of the foot to the front of the room. Swing this heel back, drag this knee back, knee to knee. Keep this going. I'm just going to spin around so you can see a bit more. So knee comes up, knee comes out, and I show the sole of my foot to the front of the room, swing it back, drag it back until this bum muscle tenses, knee to knee. Now, remember that this is the biggest expression of movement and control that I can get from this femur in the hip socket. If it looks like this, and I'm sharing the load out between both legs and my lower back, the balance gets harder as well because I've got to move around more, but that isn't it. I'm not learning anything for this stuff. I want this bit of meat around here to learn how to contract and stretch and find all of the different shapes that's possible in this hip. And if this is your first time doing controlled articular rotations, there's a lot of learning to be done, and I think you've got to allow yourself to just play. So don't get caught up in whether or not you're doing it right, just get caught up in doing something with this hip, and the more you do it, the more specific you get. You've got to work with what you've turned up with. You can't just trick yourself into, I'm going to swap legs and just go knee up, knee back. You can't just jump straight into doing it perfectly, because that's not how it works. I always use this analogy that if you're learning to play guitar, you've never played one before, someone shows you how to play a whole song, and they're all going all twiddly with their fingers, they're pressing all the strings down, it's all perfect, and their other hand's moving in perfect timing, maybe even singing a little bit as well, and they pass you the guitar, and they're like, so just like I did, you can't do that. You've got to start with pressing one string down at a time and get that feeling before you can progress to playing whole songs and chords, obviously, and that's this. So do something. Now get back into the actual cues of what it is we're after, and you follow along as closely as you can, but don't be mean to yourself if you think that you're not doing it. So it goes knee up, knee out, show the front of the room the sole of your foot, and then show the back of the room the sole of your foot as you drag this knee back until your bum muscle tenses, knee to knee. If you want a little clue as to whether or not you're cheating or not, sometimes hand on your back, hand on your belly will show you if you're doing this, or you sharing that load out, and that isn't it. I want to see you can control how this hip can be a hip, like really specifically, how much control can you get out of this hip? Oh, getting tired in this standing leg. Like I said, it's hard work. Yes, there we go. And then we do the same for shoulders. Now, people's shoulders tend to have a lot more issues with them. You need to learn how to perform only in the space that you can perform. Don't drag it past like grindy bits or bits that touch nerves. So if my shoulder cards look like this, a little bit clicky today, go big circle one way, big circle the other. If you don't have that range, if it hurts when you get to here, your shoulder card might look like this. And it's a weird random shape of stuff. You're trying to expand on your range of safe movement that can't possibly hurt you. So pick this up, arm up. We're feeling what's going on, trying to feel this tissue here do the thing. Get it up behind your ear, put your thumb across your head, put your thumb forwards, like you're trying to show me your bicep. And then drag this arm down and back as far as it goes. Remember, you're limiting yourself if anything hurts. Drag it back, drag it back, drag it back. Drag this right up into this rear corner here, as far as it can go. Then swing it forwards and back up to here. And change direction, bring it down across your cheek, across your chest, back to here. This time, put your thumb to the outside of the room and try and wrap that bicep backwards as you pick this arm up and back, up and back, up and back. Get this behind your ear, across your cheek, back to here. And change direction. Forwards and up. Put your thumb across your head, put your thumb forwards and drag it down and back. Try and pull into this corner, like really far back. And there's got to be some learning. If it's just swinging your arm around, that isn't it. Bring it back down. This is our last one. Turn that thumb to point back and find the rear of your shoulder. Find new spaces that you're teaching this shoulder how to be a shoulder. Okay, let's try this on the other side. And remember as well that if your torso rotates like this, you've lost it. So if you go like this, you shared that load out into, even my knee look has collapsed inwards, my instep's collapsed. I'm not doing the thing with my shoulder anymore, I'm doing the thing with my whole body. I want to see how your humerus can perform within the glenohumeral joint. Okay, so pick this arm up, put your thumb across your head, put your thumb forwards, drag it down and back, down and back, down and back. Remember, if anything hurts, just do a little reverse and see if you can find the path where stuff isn't getting hurt. Bring it up and bring it down across your cheek, across your chest. Bring it back, turn your thumb to point out, wrap your bicep backwards, pick it up and back, up and back, up and back, across your cheek. Forwards. Point that thumb across your head, point your thumb forwards. That's it. Pick it back up and change direction. Remember, the learning curve for this stuff is quite high. It's quite hard to learn how to do this really well, how to not share the load out between your whole body. I'm trying to get the tissue that's involved in this, the meat, the muscles, the connective tissue, all of that stuff to be able to perform to its very best ability in these end ranges. So there's no surprises if you fall over or you lift something in a weird way or you have to reach to turn your alarm clock off in a weird way. Your arm has been in all of these rotations and it's been in every space that's available in your shoulder. So this tissue is ready, more ready to be able to do stuff. Okay, so let's get into some balance work. Balance work is one of my favorite things to work on because it's fundamental to us being human. If you just put your left foot forwards a little bit and pour loads of weight into it with a little bend in this knee. Show me a little bounce like this so I know that you're not locked knees like this with toes up because that isn't it. Pour the weight forwards into your big toe. Keep this knee a little bit bent and feel your footprint. Feel the outside edge of your foot. Feel this little gap under your instep. That's important. If you reach forwards, reach forwards with your left hand and bring your right foot forwards. So opposite hand to opposite foot forwards, and you're still almost falling forwards. The weight is on the ball of your foot, on your toes, all the way around the outside edge of your foot and your heel. Then swing this hand and this foot back. Swing this hand and foot back. And see how I can just keep this balance through movement. And it's okay to cheat, it's okay to drop this foot, drop this foot, drop this foot, drop this foot. But it's the stability of my ankle, the stability of my footprint that helps me be able to keep this balance no matter what. And I could even do it sideways, and my arms swing the opposite way to my foot, so that I've got counterbalance. If this hand's here and this foot's here, that's evenly balanced. I've got equilibrium over the balance point. Same if I do this, same if I do this, same if I do this, same if I do this. I'm keeping equilibrium, and that's how we walk as humans. Lost it a bit there. Lost it a little bit. That's it. And this ankle should get tired. So there's a lot going on there. We'll talk more about it as we practice on this other foot. So bend this front knee. So if you put your right foot forwards, bend your knee, pour the weight into your big toe, push the outside edge of your foot down, push your heel down, keep this footprint quality. Then opposite arm to opposite leg swings. So if I've got this left foot forwards, right hand forwards, swings, swings, swings. I've got this little bend in this standing leg, so it's still got this little bounce in it. Just keep moving. This is quite nice actually, that I check the sofa every time my heel goes back, give the sofa a little kick, and it's just a little reminder that I've got this. Now, equilibrium helps so much if your head is over the top of the balance point. So then, all of the rest of my body tends to just fall in line to be able to create this balance. It's just like playing Jenga, that you can see that if the top is way out over here, balance gets way harder. I've got to make this equilibrium really different. It's possible still to be able to keep balance as your head goes out to the side, but so much harder to be able to stack your joints up. Once head's over the top of foot, it gets easier. If you walk like this when you take a step, your head ends up over the top of your foot, take a step, head ends up over the top of your foot, you're catching balance every time you take a step. And that stuff's important. It helps us to move as humans. You can progress this by being a little bit a bit more like plyometric with it. So I can even go up onto the ball of my foot every time I swing this foot. But you've got to realise that you're working with what you've turned up with. If you're not there yet to be able to do that fast and to be able to pop up onto the ball of your foot and catch balance every time you land, just work your little movements first. And then those movements get bigger, they get faster as you get better at it. You can practice that while you brush your teeth even. So even if you're brushing your teeth, if you've got an electric toothbrush and you're just holding it and you're swinging this hand and foot while you do this, you'll teach this ankle to be an ankle that can do stability. It's important. Okay, let's get into some actual stretches then. So you go kind of wide feet like this. And then if you point your left foot out to the side, and this back foot goes sideways, and if you bend this front knee. So we're going into Warrior 2. You might have done Warrior 2 before. It's going to end up looking very much like this. I want you to track everything that's happening from the ground to the top of your head. There's very specific things that you can look at. And it's not that there's a certain way you should be doing this pose. There's ways that I want you to be able to tune in and know what you're doing in this pose and every shape that you go into. So we start with the footprint. You bend this front knee first. And push your big toes down and try and push the outside edge of your foot down. As I push the outside edge of my feet down, it makes my bum muscles tense a little bit. I can feel this line of tension. Then try pulling your feet towards each other and keep trying to pin your little toe down and the metatarsals that are attached so the outside edge of your foot stays glued to the floor and don't let your knees collapse. So, bend this front knee, pull the floor towards each other, grab hold of your hips and rotate your hips a few times and just feel where that stretch happens, where you feel weak, where you feel strong. Then try and maybe make your hips square on, so your hips are facing me if you're facing the camera like this. Bend the front knee. And then pull this knee back. So this knee is right over the top of your ankle, and you should feel the stretch down the inside of this thigh. These bum muscles are part of that. So if this contracts, this bum muscle here on this left hip, and this stuff stretches, and then reach your arms out, shrug your shoulders up, and then bring them down. So I'd rather have them down. Then think about your lower back. If you flip your rib cage up, this stuff lengthens. Do a little crunch, tense your belly here, breathe. Maybe bend this front knee some more. You can explore this by making yourself a bit longer, possibly. See if you're still good. Can you still tense these bum muscles? And bring your arms up and open your feet out so your feet point diagonally out. Reach your arms up and push hips back and bring your hands down onto your knees. I'm looking for a hamstring stretch, but I'm not so keen if your knees are locked out. I'd rather have them have a little bit of play so that you can move in and out of this. You can move around more than if your knees are locked, that's it. It seems like such a done deal. I don't want it to be done, I want you to be able to explore. So, can you slide your hands down your shins, maybe touch the floor, and maybe tuck your chin, roll down. So, how does this knee feel? How does this ankle feel? What's happening in your hips? What's happening in your hamstrings? And especially, what's happening down your spine? So if your spine is all curled around like this, that's fine. But I want you to be able to do this with a flat back as well. So if I move sideways like this, I can curl my spine round, and it's still a hamstring stretch here. Or I can bring my hands onto my ankles, onto my shins, and I can pick my collarbone up, and I understand how to make this back flat if I want it flat. You can even use your furniture, so you could do it like this, your hands on the sofa, and you can lower yourself down and push yourself up, and you can work out which one of these ways feels the same here. But this hamstring stretch is inevitable no matter what shape your spine goes into. So if this isn't so good for your back, then this might be better, or having your hands on some furniture or something might be better. Then I want you to explore bending one knee, and only go as far as you can to push back up. Bend the other knee and come back up. We're just exploring how low you can get your hips, and you can walk your hands along, and you can do this with the help of your sofa even. You've got wide legs, we're looking for this stretch here on the inside of your thigh, stretch here on the inside of your thigh. What I don't like so much, I keep spinning around to show you stuff, is if this knee collapses in and this foot collapses so the instep touches the floor. I want to see if you can keep a little bit of external rotation as you explore this, whichever way you're exploring. Perfect. And then bring your hands onto your shins again. Try and flatten your back as much as you can, and then push your hips forwards and feel these hamstrings pick you up. Perfect. And if you're still good for it, we're going to Warrior 2 the other way. So right foot points out, back foot goes sideways, maybe that heel's a little bit behind your little toes. Bend this front knee. Let's think about the footprint first. Push the outside edge of your foot down, see if that makes your bum muscles tense a little bit. Then pull your feet towards each other, see if that makes your bum muscles tense more. Breathe. Let's look at the lower back first this time. So if you put your hand on your lower back, hand on your belly, and do a little back bend like this, so this stuff lengthens, can you make these muscles here contract? So it's like your sternum pulls down towards your belly button to flatten your lower back. I would rather that. Then have a little think about this front knee. Can you pull it back so you can see your big toe down the inside of your thigh? And that means this muscle on the back of your bum, or your bum, not on the back of your bum, tenses to stretch this stuff down the inside of your thigh. It's all of this, one muscle strengthens to stretch the other. This front to back stuff is very important. I want to really tune into what's actually happening. How much can you feel this bum muscle holding you on? How much can you feel this stretch here? Then reach your arms out, look over your front hand, pick your shoulders up, shoulders down. Have you still got these muscles on as you hinge down a little bit lower? You can make yourself a little bit longer if you want. Breathe. Just hold, 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 hold. Then reach your arms up, open those feet out, push hips back, little bend in both knees as you look for this stretch down your hamstrings. And again, you can play around with curling this spine around so your head gets as close to the floor as you can. If you want the sofa there to help, you can totally have the sofa there for help. Just feel this stretch here in the hamstrings, and then we play around again, bending one knee and bending the other. And you can change your mind about anything. So maybe you want your feet to be much wider, then you play around, and then maybe that was too much, so then you can bring them in a bit closer again. And you can just play and explore how these hips, how this stretch can perform, how your back can perform. Maybe you try it sometimes with your head close to the floor, sometimes maybe even looking up like this. So I'm looking forwards and I'm playing around, going side to side. And if you're really good, really strong, then maybe you can sit all the way down. But I'm after doing this today with a quality footprint no matter what. Sometimes I might explore changing the footprint on the straight leg so you can sit all the way down here. That's a big ask. So you've got to work out what you've got today, what you turned up with, and how much you can explore, how this moves, and how far you can get it. Then bring your back flat again. So your head pulls forward, shoulders back. Drive your hips forwards. We'll back up. Perfect. Okay. Then just heel toe yourself back up to standing. Let's have a little think about these hamstrings again. We're going to use the sofa. So if you sit on your sofa right on the edge, so you're almost falling off the sofa, and pick one leg up onto your sofa like this. I'm going to stretch this hamstring. This leg here on the floor can go anywhere. So you pull yourself forwards. You don't need to have hands on toes. You can have your hands on your knees, hands on your shin, hand on your thigh. Whatever feels right, that you can feel this stretch down the back of your thigh. If you're not near your sofa or you're not near a bit of furniture that you can sit on to do this, then maybe do it on the floor, and you can have this foot on the inside of your thigh like this, or you could sit with this leg out the way, pulled back behind you as you sit and stretch this hamstring. All of those are legitimate options, but I like this one the best. I wish I could have sofas in my yoga classes in the gym, because then we could all work out where we need to be, and you can use the arm of the sofa to come out of it and sit back again, because the ways that we can explore this hamstring stretch are vast here. Let's explore it a little bit. Can you do internal rotation, so your knee turns across your body from the hip? You do external rotation, so your knee points out, and play around with that. And does that change how this hamstring stretch feels? Can you pull your toes back towards you, maybe point your toes away from you? What your calf does makes a huge difference to what your hamstring is doing. Can you drop your chest over your thigh? Maybe drop your chest in between your knees, come out even further to the other side, and you'll feel like this hamstring stretch changes depending on where you go. And I enjoy this exploration of what you're doing and what your tissue feels like. There's just a lot of stuff going on. Just saying the hamstring doesn't quite cut it, because what your back does changes in this stretch. Everything is involved. What your shoulders do changes in this stretch. I like thinking that there's no rules. I want you to understand what you've got and how to change it, and how to find more shapes and different stuff. Keep holding and breathing. And then, like I said at the beginning, we do pails and rails. So let's do the progressive angle isometric loading. Progressive angle is the stretching stuff. So if you push your heel into the sofa to feel this stuff on the back of your thigh contract, feel that stuff turn on as you push your heel down. You keep pushing down. Breathe, and keep pushing down, and breathe and keep pushing down. Keep driving down and feel this stuff on the back of your thigh. Relax your jaw. Keep pushing down. And then we do the rails, regressive angle isometric loading. It's important that you are as strong as you are flexible. So these muscles in your belly, this muscle in your hip flexors, I want you to turn them on, and then try and lift your foot. Push your hands down into the sofa and keep trying to lift your foot. And breathe. Doesn't matter if it actually lifts and gets air time. It's great if it does, because that's really strong, but we're trying to persuade all of this tissue here, this closing angle, that you are as strong as you are flexible, so these shapes are available to you. Keep lifting, keep lifting, keep lifting. Going 3, 2, 1, and then stretch again. And this time you can curl your spine around, drop your nose towards your knee, explore it a bit more, maybe bring your torso across, bring it back, bring it across, bring it back. Fantastic. And then sitting up. Swap over to the other side of the sofa, or swap legs if you're doing this stretch on the floor. I enjoy that this is different for everyone. This is one of the good things about teaching across the magic of the internet. I like putting all of these different things out there. And the height of your sofa, the softness of your sofa, it all changes things. It depends. Everything just depends. If you do this on like a poof or a little small table, it changes again. I like this exploration. So I do this in the gym on a box quite often with clients. I like the exploration of find this hamstring stretch and move around. What can your spine do without losing this hamstring stretch? What can your shoulders do without losing this hamstring stretch? So if you change one thing, you change everything. What I do with my neck changes how this hamstring's performing. You notice I've got my hand on my foot here. I'm kind of flexible and that feels good for me. I can tease a little bit more out if I want it. I can even use the sofa. I could grab hold of the bottom of the sofa, pull myself down lower. I'm still just kind of fidgeting and moving around, but this stuff is still getting stretched. I'm showing my body a bigger repertoire of movements and exploration of mobility. Okay. Start driving your heel down now. So this heel pushes down. You can feel the muscle that we're stretching contract. You can understand it turning on, getting stronger. Keep pushing. Keep driving down. Keep pushing. Keep loading this stuff up. Keep breathing. Explore it a little bit while you've got this tension on. It gets weird. It gets like feel different stuff in different parts of my body stretch. Trying to show my body how to do all of this stuff. Then bring your hands either side of your knee and try and lift this foot by tensing your belly and tensing this hip flexor. Lift it. Keep lifting, keep lifting. Shoulders down away from your ears. Lengthen your neck and keep trying to lift this foot. Not all about getting air time. I'm not bothered if it lifts or not really, as long as there's some persuasion that this stuff can perform. 3, 2, 1, and then stretch again. And curl your spine around. Show your body that you've got this end range. Fantastic. Okay. And then, I always like to look at how your lumbar spine is performing after doing all those stretches. Because if you stretch a lot, then this stuff here tends to join in. I want to know that there's some circulation happening here, and this stuff here in the lower back is nice and healthy. So, come back into cat-cow, but this time I want to lock the top half of your back on as you only tilt lumbar spine. Breathe. Push your little fingers down. Make lower back do these shapes. That's it. Okay. Then, you're going to sit on your bum on the floor. If you can, your legs out in front. You're going to grab hold of your left leg, pull it back. Your right leg in front of you. We've got this shin going across and this thigh going across. If you're all closed up like this, that isn't it. Open it out a little bit. If you can, go to hinge forwards and drop your belly over your front thigh, and then bring your body across towards your foot. We're looking for the stretch down the outside of this hip. You can explore this because this is pigeon pose essentially. So maybe reach this leg back behind you if you want, as long as you can feel the stretch down the outside of your hip. Shoulders down away from ears. Just breathe. Keep dropping your belly down and just breathe. Doesn't need to be deep breaths. Again, this stretch is good. It doesn't matter what your spine does, where your shoulders go. It's all just stretching. This meat here on the outside of your hip. Just explore it. And then start pushing your shin, pushing your knee and your ankle down in front, loading this stuff up. Keep pushing, drive this down so you can feel a little contraction in the outside of this hip. And sometimes I use language like maximally push, like find everything you've got. That doesn't mean you push maximally irrespective of what's going on in your body. means push as hard as you can with what you've got and what you've turned up with today. So if your hip doesn't like pushing, you can persuade it a little bit at a time, and it might take lots of consistent building and building until you can push maximally and stretch and push maximally at the same time. You've got to get there. You've got to build yourself up to that. And bring your hands either side of your thigh, tense your belly, then try and lift this ankle. You'll need to push down to make stability with this leg to be able to lift this one. Air time is okay. I'm not that bothered about it though. So if it gets light and it's still kind of touching the floor, that's okay, because we're persuading this tissue here. You're strong enough to lift this foot up. Hold, 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 and then stretch. And sitting up. Now let's go over to the other side. So we can go over to the other side this fancy way. You go knee up, cross, then you drop your knees down like that. That'll be cool. You can do that. If you got confused there, just sit on your bum, grab hold of this right leg, pick it up and drag it back. Then hinge into this forward fold. So calling left and right when you're a yoga teacher, it's kind of hard. I'm good at left and right, but when I'm facing people, I call it mirrored. And through this whole class, I've been calling it mirrored. I don't know if that makes it easier or not, but it's weird. Which, as long as you're doing a different leg, it's fine, isn't it? Okay, so drop your belly over this front thigh. Bring your torso across and drop as low as you can with your shoulders down away from your ears. Breathe all the way in and all the way out. And then just breathe normally. Try and do nasal breathing, so not with an open mouth, your mouth closed. Try and feel this stretch down the outside of your hip. And you can explore this again. You can move your spine, move your shoulders, move your neck. Relax your jaw. Keep pinching. And just keep hanging out in this stretch, persuading your body that you need this mobility, this extra little bit of space that you're moving into is something that you could possibly use in real life. Then start pushing this shin, this knee, this ankle down, loading it up, loading up this hip. The outside of your hip feels strength as you drive your stuff down. Keep pushing down, getting stronger, maybe hinge more. Push down more. 3, 2, 1. And sitting up. Then we try and lift this ankle up. So we teach this closing angle that it's as strong as you are flexible. Keep lifting. Keep lifting. Remember, air time's good. If you can get it actually up off the floor, but just persuasion that you can lift a little bit is good as well. 3, 2, 1. Then hinge. Drop. And I count this still as a bit of a forward fold. I like to check in with lower backs to see if they perform well. So just moving lumbar spine now. So if you push your chest up, tuck your chin, and get as much circulation, movement into lumbar spine. Then do a little side bend. Pushing fingertips down. Perfect. Then let's go into child's pose. So if you've got hips back to heels, reach your arms out and drop your chest as low as you can. And explore this as well. Maybe you can squeeze shoulder blades together and bring them apart, squeeze them together and bring them apart. Maybe you drop your head onto the floor. That's it. And swing up, tuck your toes,
You press into downward facing dog. You push your chest towards your thighs, heels down towards the floor, push fingertips down, and go tiptoes, heels down, tiptoes, heels down. And walk your feet in towards your hands and hang in hamstring stretch. And just keep hanging out, lengthening all of this stuff down here and all this stuff here as well. But you can contract this stuff too. So if you pick your chest up as high as you can, and hold this with a nice flat back, you should still be able to feel this stretch in the hamstrings and drive hips through. Perfect. And come down, back into seated. So before we go into Shavasana, I'm just going to do a little check-in with some joints. So move a little bit side to side. See if you can do it strong with a little bit of tension, a little bit of irradiation through the muscles in your belly. So you find side bend, side bend, side bend, and side bend. Then do rotation. That's it. Maybe keep your face looking forwards as you find rotation in your spine. Then straighten out one leg. Turn your knee out. Turn your knee across your body, turn your knee out, and turn your knee across your body. And this axial rotation, you can even do this with your arm at the same time. This ability to be able to rotate your hip. Good. Then swap legs. Let's do this. Nice. And then bring it back. Cross your arms over onto opposite knees. Spread your shoulder blades. So you try and push your knees out. Pull your hands into your knees. Tuck your chin. Pull your sternum back. Sitting up. Move your neck side to side. Then close your eyes. And just do a little bit of quiet. It's hard doing quiet over the internet. So I'm going to keep talking. You're going to just try and focus in on your breath. It's just nasal breathing. It doesn't need to be breaths all the way in and all the way out. So I'd rather your breathing was for the task at hand. And the task at hand is just breathing. It's just sitting still. We don't need big, long, deep breaths. Relax your jaw. Push your belly out as you breathe in. Draw your belly in to breathe out. Your ability to focus in on one task at a time, this ability to look inwards, the internal training, it's a strength. And strengths can be trained. You can train yourself to be better at controlling your body, controlling your breathing, controlling your joints. Let's do 2 more breaths. Your eyes closed. And bring your hands together. Bring your thumbs to your forehead, tuck your chin, roll forwards. And namaste. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on National Fitness Day. I hope that was helpful. If you've got any questions about mobility, about strength, about any kind of training at all, just move that light. There we go. I looked like I was in a horror film then with the light pointing up at my face. But yeah, message me. Let me know what you've got going on. Let me know about your mobility, your strengths, your weaknesses. I'll help you out. It'll be good. All right. Enjoy the rest of National Fitness Day. Do some good stuff. I hope it's sunny where you are. Scarborough is wet. It's a little bit cold, but that's okay. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you all. I will see you very soon. Bye.